So here are some core things that I keep coming back to. And again, some of them change, some of them get removed and pushed down to the lessons list because I just end up not liking them after a while. So they're by no means definitive. But recent incarnation of thinking about how I want to play Dynasty, things that I want to keep bringing everything back to, just to keep it this honestly very simple game, simple in amongst all the noise, and fun, and to give me some sort of guiding principle. Let me pull over the list here because there's no way I'm going to remember them. That's why I write things down. All right, and number one is draft for talent, trade for need. One of the main questions we get on our weekly grind show with Zach and Russ is, do I take a running back because my team needs a running back in my rookie draft, even though, I think Treylon Burks is going to be there, or I think, insert player name just in case you're watching this video outside of the 2022 pre-draft class. And the answer is no. You draft the player you think is most likely, especially in a rookie draft, to score you points at all, but definitely the one that you think is more likely to score you more points. And if you need other things, you do that through trade. Okay? That's the golden rule. I think that is the golden rule in all of fantasy football. You don't prioritize needs. Number two, players are never cheaper than in rookie drafts. A single pick gets you a player, which in almost no other situation after a draft is that true, right? Even if they devalue, you're normally sending more than one thing. I mean, sometimes you can. Let's not make it overly complicated, Pete. Yeah, you could get Jamar Chase for a single first-round pick last year. You can get Treylon Burks for a single first-round pick, or Breece Hall, or Isaiah Spiller, whoever your bay is. You can get Zeke Elliott in his rookie year, Saquon Barkley before he injured himself at the last 2 seasons or so. Christian McCaffrey, one single first-round pick got you all of them. Dynasty degenerates like myself, and people who like to trade, like to make moves, and are deep into leagues that are several years old, we forget to emphasize how valuable first-round picks are. This is something that's said on Twitter a lot, and I normally make fun of it because I'm a big fan of trading my picks in various different ways. I quite often find myself with no draft picks long before even the combine turns up. So yeah, I'm into that. Rookie picks have immense value, and there's a reason that they have immense value, especially in Dynasty. They are literally the only way of adding things to your team that don't cost you anything, because rookie picks regenerate every year. So, they occur. They're a thing that is given to you when nothing else is. Sleepers suck. This can mean a variety of things, and I use it to mean a variety of things. For one, never pay for expectation will be another way of saying it. Another way I have said this before is that player who sucked probably just sucks. Expecting a player to finally turn it around is a negative expected value proposition, shall we say. Most don't work out, and if you're paying for that, or if you're burning value on it, it better not be enough to make significant dent in your overall roster construction. Even if they're undrafted free agents, who I deeply love, we're expecting more than we probably should expect. That's literally probably the best definition of a sleeper, and that sucks. Most of them miss. We shouldn't be learning a lot of draft capital on it. Players who disappoint are probably just disappointing for fantasy relative to other amazing superstars, right? Not themselves are doing amazing things with their lives. Players tell you who they are a lot quicker than we want to believe. My general Dynasty philosophy is play conservative, take few shots, and hit them at a high rate. So let's make this shorter. It's about the trade, not the timing. This is one that constantly comes up on the weekly grind. Should I trade Amari Cooper right now because he might be cut by Dallas? There is no one answer to this, but if there is, it's answering a question with a question. What's the trade? I mean, you should always be trying to trade players. Again, I'm definitely not constantly sending out offers. I'm not a very active trader, and no one can be. But you should always be interested in trading every player on your roster. Do you have offers on the table? It's a question, what would you trade Amari Cooper for? Which is actually a very different question. But every question of, should I trade this player now, later, after the rookie draft on March 5th, whatever the time quotient is, it doesn't matter. It's about what trades you've got. Should you explore trades constantly and forever? Future firsts are greater than depth. I get this thrown at me a lot in different questions. It's, well, I need depth, I need extra starters, I don't want to sell my depth, I don't want to lose my depth. Honestly, you just stop worrying about depth so much. If you can trade 2 depth players for a future first, or 1 sleeper for a future first, you should pretty much always do it. Alright, next one. No one has needs in January. Well, I mean, I have some needs. I need coffee, for example. Your team does not have needs in January. This goes hand in hand with draft for talent and trade for need. My team needs a running back. No. Unless you're starting a roster next week, your team has no needs. Especially in Dynasty, and it is one of the hard gear shifts from redraft to Dynasty, or some other form of fantasy to Dynasty. You don't have needs in January. You do not have roster needs unless you're literally starting a roster this week. And get it out your head. But it's a really important rule. I don't have a tight end. Doesn't matter. I only have 1 running back. Cool. It doesn't matter. Trade that running back for wide receivers. If that's the best trade, if that's the best move for your team that you can do in terms of value at that point, yeah, you can have nothing but quarterbacks on your roster. You can have nothing but tight ends on your roster. If the value makes sense, you have no needs until you have to start a roster. Some of these are definitely doubling up. Alright, last, I'm going to get you out here in this one, and it's kind of cumulative. Dynasty is about changing a roster, not creating it. It's my least favorite, and yet also the one that I think is most important. I gotta find a better way of saying this. Like all of these rules, or heuristics, or sayings, or things I like to keep in mind, about playing Dynasty, all have to do with ways to manage value. It's about being able to change your roster season over season without having to burn it all down. And that's a way of changing your roster, burning it all down and complete rebuilding or retooling and all these different sayings and strategies that are out there. Ultimately, it all boils down to, and it all comes down to the fact that in redraft, you draft a team, it wins or it doesn't. And you still have that team. You have to be able to change that team as you need, or as best you can predict that you need to change it, without ever having redraft. So yeah, none of these this is why they're rules, not laws, and there are many different situations where this would not be helpful to think of. But as an overarching understanding of Dynasty, it's very important to recognize Dynasty, the thing that makes it Dynasty is that you can't change your team without making trades or making rookie picks to get new players on, or yes, the waiver wire. You have to be able to utilize those 3 things to change your roster year over year to try to win. That you are not going to build a super team. That's not, I mean, you can. I've seen super teams. I've seen astonishing teams that just crush everyone else in the league right in the first season. But that manager still has to be able to change his team to the next year. One of the most striking things I've learned and all the things I've studied in Dynasty is that most breakouts happen every year. The best repeat rate is quarterback, inside the top 24, so it literally doesn't matter, and then it's over like 60%. Inside the top 24 for wide receiver and running back, it's not really 50%. It's slightly below 50%. Even though a very small minority of players produce the majority of fantasy relevant seasons, on a year-to-year basis, the idea that a player is going to repeat inside the same PPR position rank is actually a below 50% proposition. Especially when I started Dynasty, I was going to draft young players, and I was going to have all 2014 wide receivers and stud running backs, and I was going to dominate, and I was going to dominate next year just using my rookie draft picks. And the truth is, no, you don't build a super team. You don't create a great roster. You get great at changing your team year over year. That's Dynasty, because points are all that actually matter. But because Dynasty is about an ability to change a roster to keep finding points, then value is necessary. It doesn't score you points, but it is actually pretty real inside the ecosystem of a league. Let me know what your core Dynasty tenants are, or some that I'm missing, or some if any of them don't make sense, or you need me to, or I need to explain a little better or a little more, or anything else really. I'm here to talk Dynasty and fantasy football, so I would be interested in talking about Dynasty and fantasy football with you. So let me know what you think. Comment on this one, I guess. Really appreciate it. Talk to you again next time. Core Dynasty maybe rules sometimes.
Listen to me grind. Take down the film watchers and nerds all at once. I am one of those skeptical of status quo. Lazy and to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I grind my Excel sheets. Sometimes pour cold water on heat. When the math's not adding up, you better check it out. I'm just Pahowdy. Welcome to the ground.